Hi guys, and welcome back to my Juvia's Place series. I know it's been a little while since I posted my first one, and if you haven't already checked that out, I will link that in the corner. I went through a little bit of color theory and I showed you guys how to work with the Zula palette, and today we're going to be working with the Douce palette. You guys corrected me. I've been saying Douce this whole time and apparently it's Douce. Some people said it's Douce, but the majority of you guys said it was Douce, so here we are. We're going to be working with the Douce palette. If you don't know what this palette looks like, this is what we're working with, and as you can see, it's a pretty muted, very romantic, soft palette, so this is not usually something that I would reach for. So I want to show you guys how you can create interesting looks with this. We're only going to be doing one look today, and in this video I kind of want to take you through my thought process when I go about creating looks, because sometimes I feel like I have a bit of a different approach than most people do, so I kind of want to try to explain that. I'm not sure how well I'm going to be able to articulate it and really get my thoughts across the way that I want, but I'm going to try anyway. I feel like when a lot of people look at this palette, they immediately get drawn to this soft pink and they're like, oh, that is the perfect transition shade. Or they might even go to this brown and say the same thing, or this one, even though this one doesn't really show up on your lids that much if you're my skin tone or darker, because it is a very soft shade and it's probably more used to set your eyeshadow primer. I want you guys to kind of get away from that first instinct of always wanting to put the softest shade in your transition and kind of think of creating the looks in a different way. So what I usually do when I try to create a look is I pick out the shades in the palette that I want to work with, and then from there I figure out how to work with them. I don't look at a palette and go, which shades are going to look good together? I pick out my shades and then I find a way to make those shades look good together. So when I look at this palette, I obviously get drawn to this one right away because this is such a beautiful green shade. I love this. Also, this pink shade just screams my name, so I already know that I want to work with these two shades, and from there I'm kind of like, how can I make this look more interesting and pop more? And of course my first instinct is to go with a dark shade, so the darkest shade in the palette is this brown. So I already know I want to work with these three shades. I kind of want to pull in this shade as well because I just haven't really used it, so that's sometimes my thought process as well. It's like, if there's a shade in a palette that I haven't used yet, I kind of want to try to use that. So now I have 4 shades. And I also know that I'm gonna need some kind of a lighter shade probably for my inner corner, or maybe even on my lids. So I probably am going to pick this one because this is so beautiful, and I even used that as a highlight today. And this one is such a pretty duochrome. So now that I feel like I have my color scheme down, which is going to be this whole row as well as these 2 shades, of course you can go in, you can do an all monochromatic pink look, and that's, I know, what a lot of people would do with this. You could also use all the 3 brown shades and maybe pop the green on the lid, which I'm sure is something that a lot of people have done. So I'm going to swatch these 5 colors for you, and I will kind of take you through my thought process on how I want to go about creating that look with those colors. So this is what they're going to look like. This is the very pink light duochrome. Here we have the dark brown, the middle pink shade, the green, and then lastly the darkest of the shimmer shades. Now raise your hand if you have this palette and you have yet to use this shade. I feel like a lot of people are in the same boat and we all kind of forget that the shade is in the palette, even though it seems like it's such a useful shade because it is kind of dark and it is a shimmer. So yeah, I'm excited to kind of get more into this palette because I have not really used this palette a lot, and it's a shame because it's so beautiful. This is kind of funny because I feel like every time I do a look, I'm basically doing a palette bingo because I always pick out the shades that I want to use first. That really intrigues me, and then from there I figure out what I want to do with them. So like I said, we have 2 mattes here, so obviously one of those are probably going to go in my crease. I could use both in my crease. I could do one on my lower lash line. I could do only a shimmer on my lower lash line. There's a lot of possibilities here, but I also have to figure out what I want to do with the other shades. So this shade right here is probably going to be close to the dark brown because these are sort of in the same color family, and the fact that this one is kind of dark as well, I feel like it's only logical that it is next to the other darkest shade that we have. So I feel like this is going to be either in my outer corner. I could also do a halo eye where I put this in my crease and I do this one on my outer parts of my eye, and then I can pop this one or this one in the middle. That could be something to think about. Now for the lighter of the matte shades, this could definitely go in my crease as well. It could go on my lower lash line. It could go all over my lids somehow. It could go in my inner corner because this one is definitely light enough to be an inner corner shade. But I also have to figure out how to work these two together, if I want to have them separately or if I want to have them together. And As for the green shade, I feel like this could go anywhere. This could go in my lower lash line, this could go in the middle of a halo eye, this could go in my inner corner because it's definitely light enough for that. But since I already have a lighter shade, this only seems logical to me that this goes in my inner corner because there's nowhere else really that this shade can be. So now that we decided this is going to be my inner corner shade, I want to figure out what I want to do in my crease. And since I only have 2 matte shades, I can either go with both of them or I can go with one of them. And if I go with one of them, I have to figure out what do I want to do with the other of the matte shades. And to me, if I have 2 shades that are sort of like this, that I know is going to mix nicely into each other, because obviously this is a brown, so any shade is going to blend okay with a brown, even though it is going to make a bit of a dirty transition, but that's okay. So I know that these shades can mix into each other. Now, do I want to put them next to each other, or do I want to do a gradient with them? I'm not really want to build up my crease with different depths of a color or even different colors. It's not really something that I do a lot because I feel like sometimes looks end up looking a little bit muddy, or I just don't get the vibrancy from the first shade that I put down or the lightest of the matte shades that I put down as much as I would if I were to put them separately. So to me now the best way is going to be to put the pink shade in the first half of my crease and then go in with the brown on the outer part. And I will probably also put this in my outer corner and deepen this up a bit. And from there I will go in with this darkest of the shimmery shades and put that on my outside of my lid. And so now I already have kind of all of these shades used except for the green. And so it seems to me that either the green has to go on my lid, like in the middle here, and then meeting it up with the pink, but I don't really like the combination of this kind of green with this kind of pink, but that is just me personally. So to me that doesn't really make sense either. So the only place that I have left for this green shade is on my lower lash line. So I think now we have kind of figured out where I want to go with this look. So I'm first starting off with this shade in the inner part of my crease, deepening it up with the brown on the outer part of my crease, putting this shade right here pretty much all over my lid, and then putting the duochrome in my inner corner and then the green on my lower lash line. So let's try to do that. I hope that kind of made sense to you. I know it was a little bit rambly and a little bit all over the place, but that is just how my brain works, and I know a lot of people think of things very differently. Obviously, I could, of course, go in and do like a crazy cut crease, and then I could jumble all the colors around and do some crazy stuff, but most of the time, you guys know I prefer to do more wearable looks that don't take 2 hours to put on, and that is just me. And I don't think I'll ever be the type who's into super Instagram kind of looks where everything is perfect, and I don't know, I like looks that sort of flow a little bit more. Don't get me wrong, I love playing around and trying different techniques, and I do cut creases from time to time, but for the most part, I want to say that I don't do them. And I also prefer watching people who don't do cut creases all the time because I don't know, I just feel like it gets a little bit repetitive. So let's get started. I'm going to start off by priming my eyes like I always do with my MAC Paint Pot in Soft Ochre. So I hope that the stuff that I said makes sense, because to me it does. So like I said, I'm going to start off by taking this middle shade and I'm going to put that in the first half of my crease. And I'm using my Morphe E36 brush to do so with. And I'm just going to pack this on. And I'm going to go about halfway with this. I'm not going to use too much of it. Just to about here. I'm then going to take Chocolat, which is the dark brown shade, and I'm going to put that on the outer half of my crease. Again, I'm first packing on the color and then going in to blend. Now, obviously the shape that you make on the outer corner is all personal preference and just depends on your eye shape, but I feel like for my eye shape, since I have hooded eyes, it really helps to lift the eyes a little bit if I do make a bit of a wing with my shadows. So that's what I'm going to decide to do, and of course, if you don't like that, you don't have to do that. Moving on, still sticking to the game plan, I'm going to take Mont Blanc and I'm going to take that pretty much all over my eyelid. I'll probably stop it about 2/3 of the way in so that I have room for a little bit of that duochrome shade on my lid, as well as wrapping it around in my inner corner. I'm not going to pull this all the way out into my wing. I'm going to stop it about 2/3 of the way out. So the shade is mostly going in the middle of my eyelid because I do like to have that darkest brown shade as like a definition on my outer part of my eye. So I'm gonna go back in with that dark brown again, like I said, and just really make sure that the edges out here are blended nicely. And like I said I was gonna do, I'm gonna go in with Tarte and put that on the rest of my eyelid, so right here, and I'm also going to wrap it around a little bit down to my lower lash line. So a lot of the time I will get to this point and sort of have an idea what I want to do in my lower lash line, and then I might change my mind, but I think for the purpose of this video I'm still going to go in with the green shade. Obviously you could wrap around the brown and the pink and it would look beautiful and more of a softer look, but if you want to go with more of an edgier look, I feel like putting a different shade on the lower lash line is always going to make a bit of a difference in the look. So I'm going to go in with the green and show you what that looks like. Also, let me know what you think of my lamp in the back. I got this on Amazon after watching Angelica's video where she showed her video setup, and she was saying if you have lights in the background, the lighting in the front is going to look a lot better. So I got a lamp to put in the background because I do what Angelica says, because I love her and I think that she's always right. So as for my waterline, most of the time when I do a look, I tend to stick with either the same color that I have on my lower lash line in my waterline, or I will pull one of the colors that I have on top of my lid into my waterline. Just depending on how dramatic the look is already. If I have a look like this, which is pretty out there, I probably am not going to go in with, like, say an orange in my waterline or do anything crazy at all. So I think for this look, I'm probably going to go either with a light pink, which would go with what I have in my inner corner. I could also go with the same shade I have on my lower lash line, but I don't really have a shade like that in a pencil. And I think out of pink and white, I want to go with a pink, so I'm gonna use this one that I have from NYX. It's one of their faux whites, and it's in lavender blush. And I think this really opened my eyes up and made them pop even more. So I'm gonna go put on a bit of liquid liner and mascara, and then I will be right back and we can do some lipstick and kind of sum up my thoughts on how I feel like this video went, because I feel like there was a lot of rambling and I also feel like there was some good thoughts thrown in there as well, so I will be right back. So I think with this look, I kind of want to go with a bit of a softer pink lip, so I'm going to use this one by Kat Von D, which is called Lovesick, and then on top I'm going to use a new gloss that I got from Colourpop, and this is in the shade Round Midnight. I haven't yet tried this on, so I hope I like it. Alright, let's see what this gloss looks like. Doesn't have much color to it, but it's very pretty. Yeah, I think I like this. So I think this will sum up the look. Let me know down below if you have any thoughts about everything that I said in the beginning of the video, if any of it made sense at all. I hope it did. And I would love to know how you go about making your eyeshadow looks. Do you have a thought process similar to mine? I think that was going to be it for the second episode of my Juvia's Place series. Let me know if you have any suggestions on which palette you want to see me do something with next and what you want to see me do with it. I'm open to any suggestion and I don't have any plans for the next week's episode, so let me know down below what you think and I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching as always. If you are new to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!